Everyone is here. Hopefully those who stayed by are well fed. We have something for you as well. So we're going to begin our afternoon program, Active Shooter Training. With us today from the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office is Jessica Wyan, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself as well as begin the presentation. You are encouraged to ask questions, and as she presents, also forward those questions to her. What we would like to do, because I believe this is also being streamed, is if you do have a question, please speak into the mic, because we want all participants, both in person and online, to benefit from this training. So with that, I give you Jessica Wyan.
Thank you. What? No applause? I'm kidding. All right, so thank you guys for being here. Like Pam said, my name is Jessica Wyan. I am a deputy with the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 15 years, and I've been teaching Alice for 10 years. I did see a couple of kids in here. Parents are cool with it. But when I learned about Alice and active shooter, I had no idea what our kids in school were learning, and my kids at the time were in middle school and high school, and I immediately taught them this, because if they're in a school place where a lot of the active shooters are happening, I wanted them to know what their options are. So round of applause to parents who are allowing their children to be in this, because we know this day and age, it is a scary place in schools. And that's where a lot of the active shooters are happening, and we need our young folks to know what they can do. So I expect you guys to pay attention. You're going to be the youngest ones here, probably, right? You guys are the ones that are probably going to get out the fastest. You have to remember to take somebody with you. You'll hear my kid's story when I get to it, all right? Is anybody here just for food and not for the active shooter presentation? I don't want anybody feeling anxious about what you're about to learn. Nobody's here saying yes, all right. So active shooter started, like I said, I've been teaching it 10 years ago, so when you are in a county, you have to include everybody, because just what the sheriff's office is doing doesn't help if every other police agency in the county is not doing the same thing. So it originally started, it's a 3-part response, but we got all the chiefs of police with the sheriff. They sat down and decided they needed to do something, because doing something is better than doing nothing. And then they had to look at different options. They came up with Alice, and then all of the agencies had different parts in creating the policy, in leading the training, not just for citizens, but also for officers. We train together so that we know what to expect of each other. And just because I wear a county uniform doesn't mean I won't be driving through Ypsilanti City when something comes through in Ypsilanti City where they might need my help. So that's why we train together. And then we created partnerships with the schools, because like I said, where do most active shooter incidents take place? In the schools. Do they happen in places of worship? Absolutely. When I was talking to Pam a couple of weeks ago, you guys were supposed to do this training like years ago. But thankfully, Pam reached out, and you guys are able to get this set up. Okay, so you're not only doing something for the congregation, but something for yourselves personally, because what you're going to learn today is not something that you're going to just forget about. It's going to be a tool that you have in your head, in your toolbox, to take with you in all places of wherever you go. So work, school, church, the mall, restaurants, wherever you go, you can take this training with you. Something that you can use everyday life. Today's training is to keep you mindful and not fearful, okay? When the time to perform has arrived, the time to prepare has passed. right? If you're thinking, oh, nothing's ever going to happen to me, that might be true, but then it might not be. You might be walking through the mall and hear a loud disturbance and be like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I parked the way that loud disturbance is at. Can you just leave through that same entrance that you came in? Could you find your car if you had to leave out of a different entrance? What if you're at school? If you're at a school or a workplace, is the front door always where you have to go back to? So just some things to take with you. And today we want you to learn how to train like you will fight. Okay? No, I'm not saying that you're actually going to have to physically fight somebody today, but we want you to be prepared in the event that something happens. This is kind of an old slide, 2000 to 2019, active shooter incidents. I don't know if you guys can see it all that well. I know I have a TV right here and I can't see it perfectly. So of 333 incidents in 43 states, including the District of Columbia, in this 20-year summary, there was the 333 incidents. There were 1,023 people killed, 1,700 people wounded. That's the big graph in the middle, the red and yellow and tiny percentage of green. 135 of those incidents met the mass killing definition. So a mass killing is where there's 3 or more killings in one single incident. The shooters, the little pie chart, does this one work? This pie chart here, 119 shooters committed suicide, 113 of those were male and 6 were female. Now here's relationship to the victims. Victims could be anybody. Where would you put your church? Professional, other, none? What do you think? Where would you group people? Other? Yeah, possibly. So professional is like a workplace. Is everybody here retired? No? So you're telling me you're going to work? 41% of the time the active shooter took place, they had some type of professional working relationship with the victim. We all want to win the lottery and not have to go to work tomorrow, right? In active shooter cases, there's always been leakage. Now, sure, there might be something where nobody knew about the plot, but in 81% of the active shooter cases, at least one person, unrelated, knew about the plot. 56% of the time, 2 or more people knew. 93% of the time, it was a peer or sibling that knew and said nothing. So Oxford, everybody remember Oxford last year? I have nephews that they were in high school, and my sister called me and she said, Jessica, I'm out of town. Oxford just happened. The boys were in lockdown when there's nothing happening at their school. They refused to go to school today. Can you call them and find out why? I was like, okay, so I call. And they said, well, we saw on Snapchat that somebody's going to do something at our school today. I said, did you tell your mom that? No, she's out of town. We don't want to freak her out. But we just told her we weren't going to school. Okay, well, now I need to know who sent that Snapchat out so that I can let Oakland County, their school officer, know. Because I'm not going to be part of leakage. I'm not going to know something and not say something. So, moral of the story, if you see something weird going on or you hear people talking about something, while it may not be anything, just remember leakage and you want to say something, okay? Rather have law enforcement investigate it and it be nothing than for you to say nothing and it be something. Washtenaw County, it can't happen here. It can. Everybody know where Chelsea is? So I know this is old. 1993, the superintendent was gunned down. Does anybody remember that? I've had a couple of times where people were like, oh, I was a student at Chelsea High School when that happened. So a high school teacher walked out of a meeting, went out to his car, came back with a gun, fatally shot one person and wounded 2 others. But Washtenaw County is so safe. Is it? No. Young people in the room, do you know how many fire drills you have to do in school? How many? It feels like 10, I'm sure. He said 5 or 10. They have to do 5 after one single fire in the state back in 1958. Now, the rest of us, we all did fire drills, right? Some of you may remember 1958. I don't. But one fire changed the course of our lives and our children's lives. But how many active shooters do you have to have in a school before we do any type of active shooter drill? Back to my young folks. How many did you tell me you do a year in school? No, just of the active shooter. Do you know that? So you do lockdown drills, but not at this type of training. Yep, so they do drills. If you don't have any young people in school, they do drills, but it's only been about 5 years since the state has required 3. Okay, they have to do drills in like their regular classroom in an unopportune time, so like they might be at recess or lunch or passing classrooms, and then they can just do one other at any random time. So 3 is now what the state mandates, but there was one fire and it was mandated for fire drills. Okay. Why Alice? Why are we sitting here listening to this presentation? So when the chief of police all met and they met with the school board, they wanted to figure out something that could be taught to everybody and used practically in everyday life. Okay? So Alice is an acronym. It doesn't have to be used in the way that it is presented. You're going to learn all about the different steps of alert, lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate. Which ones do you think are the most favorite? Evacuate, because you get to what? Leave. But people like counter too, because you get to throw things at people. When we have our scenarios here today, we're not going to throw anything at my my role player because we want them to come back. I mean, I want them to come back. I want them to be willing to come and help me again. I don't know that you guys will want them to come back, but we're not going to throw anything at her, and we're not going to harm them in any way. So Alice, it gives you a comprehensive preparedness for a violent intruder. Is anybody that comes through the door that's mad and making noise, do they mean to do harm in here? Maybe, but you don't know, right? What if somebody is running away from somebody who's trying to cause them harm? Are your doors open at all the time? You're a church. Is a church a safe place for somebody to go? They may think so, and it should be. It's what I'm hearing from over here. But when they come through that door, then what? Or how far are you allowing them to get up to the front? Somebody came in a long trench coat and looked really mad. Do you think they're here because they need God? Or do you here because they want to do something to harm you? You never know, right? Until you stop and ask them. So I will let you know when I came in the door today, young man let me in. very polite of him, right? He says he could see my badge. He wouldn't open it for a random stranger, right? But then I came in and I stood around and I was like, okay, now what? And he's like looking at me like, I don't know what you're doing here. Like, you should know what you're doing. But then it wasn't until this young lady over here saw me and was like, can I help you with something? Yeah, the only person I know here is Pam. And I don't see Pam. And yes, please help me find Pam. So, I didn't feel like I was a threat. I have a badge on, right? But if somebody comes in and they don't have a badge, they have that long trench coat and they look unhappy, what's their reasoning for being in church? Can we ask them? Yeah, if you don't recognize them, first of all, that's a first-time attender, you should probably be paying attention to them, right? You want to love on them, give them support, you want them to come back. But also pay attention to who's coming in your doors. So, Alice, back to Alice. Like I said, it's an acronym, just empowers you to act. Today, when we get into our scenarios, you will find out what your natural response is to fear. Are you going to be the person that wants to fight my bad guy? Please don't. Are you going to be the person that just wants to get the heck out of Dodge? And you're already halfway through the door before my presentation is over? Or are you the person that your Microsoft wheel of death is going around and around and around, and you're saying, now what? What do I do? What's going on here? Anybody already identify as any of those? I already know I have a fighter. Mike's going to be a fighter. He's like barely able to sit in his chair. You're going to fight? Okay. Don't fight my bad guy. So Alice was research-based, legally vetted, and then the school board and the board of chiefs and the sheriff agreed that it would be a good program to introduce in Washtenaw County. And ultimately, we want to fill the gap, stay alive until the police arrive. On average, in an active shooter event, 2 to 3 people will be killed every minute from the start of the incident until the killer is stopped. 86% of those active shooter cases, the subject is stopped by force. What does that force mean? Taken down by who? Law or Mike? All right. Mike's taking one for the team. Sorry, Mike, I heard your wife call your name. So it has to be stopped by force, right? So some people think, oh, well, the police are going to take him down. Do we know anything's going on here? No. We don't know, and I'm saying we, law enforcement, don't know anything's going on until we're alerted by whom? Somebody that knows what's going on, right? So it takes 3 to 5 minutes for somebody to be like, oh no, I should probably call the police. 3 to 5 minutes for somebody to make that call and the police to get here. Now, Ypsilanti City is a smaller area, right? They're just up the street. What if they're already on something? Then what? Yeah. And then 3 to 5 minutes to form a response team and equip themselves to come in the door. 3 to 5 minutes to locate and stop the threat. How long were you guys trying to fill that gap? 9 to 15 minutes. How many people were hurt? 2 to 3 people every minute. I know, it's Saturday. We don't want to do math. Especially the kids. You should have been doing my math for me. Oh, man. Lost that opportunity. So in reality, you guys are the first responders, right? We don't know, law enforcement doesn't know anything's going on until you tell us. So the A in Alice is alert. You need to inform everyone. Inform law enforcement, inform people here. If you're in the chapel and something happens here, how do you inform the classrooms? Can they hear through the walls? Did the disturbance start as soon as they came in the door? Different things will be in play for every different situation, right? We can't say, oh, but what if this happens and what if that happens? We can't do that here in this situation, but we want to be able to use all technology that you have to alert anybody of what's going on. Obviously, you need to let the police know. And when you call 911, does everybody's phone work in this building? Okay. Does it work in the basement? Sometimes. That's what I was waiting for. Sometimes. I know in the basement of our main building, cell phones don't work like hardly at all because it's underground and it's all cinder block, right? So it depends. Be knowledgeable of where your phone works and doesn't work. Or is there a landline that you can use? We didn't test the landline when I was here, did we? Okay. Remind me, we'll test it before I leave. And when you call 911, they're going to answer, 911, where's your emergency? Where are we? All right, so it sounds like most people know the address, 402 South Adams. Are you going to tell them which entrance to come off of? When your adrenaline is way up here, are you going to remember it? What was that? Coming where the noise is coming from? Yeah. Or where people are running from? Yeah, so we want you to be able to provide as much real-time factual information so that, one, anybody in here knows what's going on, right? If something's going on here, how would we alert to the people that were in the classrooms that they should probably leave? And is there a safe way for them to leave? You guys have a paging system in here? But you have cameras, right? So will the cameras tell them that they should be leaving the building? Who knows? Ultimately, we're filling the gap, staying alive till the police arrive. Hope Mike's here that Sunday or that Saturday to protect you guys. Or he's out on regular life with you so he can be your muscle. How to properly alert. So we want to be specific, right? In schools, young folks that are in school, you might have heard once upon a time. I know I heard lockdown, lockdown. Does that tell me anything? No. I also heard lockdown, lockdown. Mr. Greenwood is in the building. Who cares? Who's Mr. Greenwood and why is he in the building? If you're visiting from another church or if your work can be in multiple locations, do you know any special code words that people use? Let's be specific. Let's say why. Lockdown, lockdown, gunmen in the sanctuary or in the chapel. What do you guys call this room? Sanctuary. Is that going to help anybody if you're all screaming, get out, because there's a gunman in the sanctuary? It might if you're running by the doors, right? Although if you're running right out this door and right out the next door, it's not going to be very helpful for somebody who's teaching in the classroom that's up front. And if you're in a bigger building or even in this building, how long should somebody stay in place? Should there be a time limit? Like, oh, I'm going to stay in this spot for 5 minutes, 10 minutes? I wouldn't. I would want to get out, right? Lockdown. Our kids that are still in school are going to be your friends when we get to lockdown because they're going to be the ones that probably have experience with lockdown. Do you guys get to do anything in your lockdown drills? No? You just sit there? Hide by the walls? Okay, he's turning off the lights and shutting the blinds. You know where the lights are here? What are you going to do for me? No, you. You're going to stay quiet. Okay. Is that important? It is. Because if you're not quiet, it allows somebody to know where you're at, right? Okay? So lockdown. We're going to talk about lockdown now. It's a good starting point. How do you lock your doors or barricade the doors? I will tell you, this room is terrible. Terrible. Like that door right there. How could you barricade it with what you have here? Right. Right. Terrible room to have to barricade something. All right. How could we barricade that door that pushes out? You guys are going to have to get creative. Yeah. Hiding behind Mike. Everybody loves you, Mike. You're going to be... No, you're their shield. You're going to have to do a quick move and turn around, right? So would it be better if we were in one of those side rooms? No? Why not? There's locked doors in there. But it's easy to open a window and jump out, right? And get those kids out? Not these windows? Nobody wants to try and get out the windows? She's having a fit up here. She doesn't want to be in a room. She doesn't want to be in a sanctuary. The basement has a great egress door. So if you have to lock down in here, it's going to be tough, right? Because how do you barricade the doors? We talked about spreading out, having counter items to throw at somebody. Do we want to throw the Bible at somebody? It might be our only option, right? How many people actually carry a Bible nowadays and don't just have an app on their phone? Okay, was that a Bible? All right. Got a couple of you with Bibles. All right. Mike has his. Should we huddle around? Probably not, because it's harder if you have multiple locations that you have to shoot somebody at, right? Wow, Mike, you're loved. She's also going to sacrifice you. You're going in front of her, man. Should you open the door for anybody if they're trying to get into this room after we've barricaded? No. Call 911. Does everybody have to call 911? So guess what? If you're thinking I should call 911, you're thinking it, but did you do it? Well, did Pam do it? Because Pam was thinking it too. Is it better to get one call or 15 calls? 15. Did anybody see our Facebook page this week for the ice storm? Our call volume went up 400% between 2 p.m. and midnight on, what day did it snow? Or ice? Wednesday. 400%. Do you think they can handle a couple of people calling about an active threat in a church? They can handle it. Yeah. Gather first aid supplies. Where's the closest first aid supplies in here? Behind that door or that door? All right. So you guys know how to get there if you need it. All right. Because you're going to be filling the gap and staying alive until the police arrive. Now, when the police arrive, are they going to render aid to anybody who's laying on the ground? Why not? They are here to stop the threat. Yes. Don't get mad at them when they have to walk over somebody. It might be you or a coworker or another church participant, okay? He's not mad. No remorse either. None at all. But just know that when the police come in, they do have a job to do. They will get to anybody who is injured or hurt. Hopefully everybody is get out safely. Better yet, hopefully it never happens here and we don't have to worry about it, right? But we're being trained so that we have knowledge. We have the tools in our toolbox. Does everybody remember Virginia Tech? So for those that don't remember Virginia Tech, the shooter walked into this building here and chained the main doors closed. Why? Nobody can get out and nobody can get in. Who can't get in? The police. Are they going to take their car and ram it into those doors to get in? No. How do you think the police got in? Because they did get in. Not through the windows, not through an emergency door, but a maintenance door that had been left unlocked is how they were able to get in. Okay? So we as law enforcement sometimes have to be creative in how we get in. You guys were huddling, right? Our lockdown told us to huddle. These people are sitting on the ground here in this building. What you can't tell from the picture is those two buildings are not connected. There's a sidewalk in between. Okay? How long is too long to sit? How long do we think those kids sat? Was that 3 hours? Have you heard this presentation before? Okay. They sat for 5 hours. Because remember, they were in a separate building. So what building are the police going to check first? The one that the shooting was occurring in, right? So they have to clear all of those rooms first and then go back and start clearing the next ones. So the shooting a couple of weeks ago up at MSU. Again, another school in Michigan. But that school has an alert system. Did everybody catch on to that when they were talking about it? They have an alert system where students were notified where the shooting was occurred and where to lock down and stay safe at. Would it have been great for everybody to leave their dorms if they were sleeping for the night so that they could get out of the dorm? No, because they could have potentially been running into danger. So at least Michigan State had an alert system that said this is where it's going on and stay where you're at, or if you're by this area, try and get out type of thing. Virginia Tech, I don't know if they have it now, but back then they did not. I wouldn't have lasted. I have to use the bathroom after like 20 minutes. No way I would have been able to sit there. But some lessons we learned from Virginia Tech. Like I told you, the shooter went in and chained the doors, and then he went to the second floor. The second floor, he killed one person in the hallway. That was the clue that the rest of those classrooms got that something was going on. Okay? What we learned afterward from watching video and talking to people is that the shooter came in down here. There's nobody in these two rooms. He went to this room where 12 people were killed and 6 were wounded. Then did a zigzag and went across the hallway. 10 people killed, 2 wounded. Came back down to this room. There's 13 present, 5 killed, 6 wounded. Went across to this room. 19 people present, 2 killed, 3 wounded. And down to this last room in 205 where 12 people were there, 0 killed, 0 wounded. How did that last room get so lucky? They had time, right? He went to every classroom first. They could barricade. Here we'll see what they did. So this room down here says they barricaded after the first time. That means that the shooter got into their room, left, and they were able to do something, okay? Those people that weren't hurt, weren't killed, could do something, and they were able to barricade. Obviously, that room down here, 205, they barricaded. This room here, those folks jumped out of the second floor. Can you survive jumping from a second story? Yeah. You could potentially get wounded, right? You could break an arm, a leg, whatever. You could jump totally wrong and do a belly flop. That wouldn't be good. But only 2 people in that classroom were killed. So the instructor in that classroom was a Holocaust survivor. And when something started happening, he told his class, "You guys go out the window and I will hold the door." The second person that was killed was the last person out of the classroom once the shooter got into the classroom because he shot the professor through the door that he was holding. This last person was also killed. But you can survive jumping from a 2-story, second-story room. However, does anybody work out at the Ann Arbor YMCA? No. All right. If you ever decide to, their second floor is really a 3rd floor, and if you have to jump out a window, be very careful. All I saw was the tops of trees when I was teaching the active shooter at their location. I was like, oh, don't jump out of here. I thought I was on floor 2. But they have a parking structure on the bottom. So, know where you're at. What is the best way to barricade a door that opens out? Is a 2x4 a good idea? With the tow rope? Yeah. Are you guys going to put some in the back and up here just in case? I mean, it's hard to put a tow rope around a handle that turns, but just some different ways to barricade, right? Are the chairs an effective barricade? It provides you time. It might not be the best way to barricade a door, but it gives you time, right? The I in Alice is inform. Just a continuation of alert, provide real-time information. It allows not only people here on the grounds good decision making, but also people responding, so the police responding have a better idea of what's going on. If you're being loud and informing people to run or get out, could that also maybe confuse or frustrate the person who is trying to do harm? Absolutely. Do you care if it confuses or frustrates them? No. You want them to basically turn around and leave, right? Yeah. So keep informing. Has anybody tried calling 911 from their cell phone? Do you know that when you call 911, it begins recording when you call 911? As soon as it starts ringing, it starts recording. Our 911 dispatch center, if there's nobody on the line, they go back and they replay that first part of the call. Because you could say some important information in there. You could say there's some type of active aggressor at 402 South Adams, and then you can't provide any more information. Something happened, you drop your phone. Can they hear what's going on? Yes. So if all you can do is call 911 and say the address, that's better than nothing. But like I said, hopefully more people are calling to let us know what's going on and where we're needed, okay? If you see the person who's causing a threat here in the sanctuary, is it helpful to give clothing description? Absolutely. So as much as you can gather and remember to tell them, that's what you want to do. You're also going to have adrenaline going. Try and remember the next time, like you're out for a walk or something, anybody who walks past you, say something happened, they came up back behind you and attacked you. How are you going to describe them to the police? Were you really paying attention? Did you have 2 earbuds on, playing music, and now when the police say, well, what did they look like? You're like, he was wearing a red shirt. No, he had red pants on. I really don't know what the person looked like. Just pay attention to your surroundings the next time that you're out doing that, because the more that you're aware of what people are wearing, when your adrenaline is high, you're going to be able to remember things if you're practicing when your adrenaline is low. Okay? You're running these things through your head so that you can inform dispatch of an active description of what somebody looked like. How many escape options do you have wherever you're at? You guys know where you can escape from here? I got people looking at doors. There's a couple doors, right? Okay, once you get out these 5 doors, then what? I mean, obviously the center is super easy, right out that door, right? But what if you went out that door? Then which way do you go to get out? You have to think about these things. How many different escape routes are there when you're at the mall shopping and you hear something? Like I said earlier, do you have to go in where you came in? Can you go through the doors that say employees only? Heck yeah, if something's going on. I mean, I'm not telling you on a general, regular practice to just help yourself to the stock room to figure out if they have your shoe size, right? Half the time that shoe size section probably wouldn't get you outside, at least in most stores that I'm thinking about. But yeah, if there's a door that says employees only, you're allowed to go through it when there's an active threat or situation going on, right? A couple years ago at the mall, Briarwood, they thought they had an active shooter. How long do you think it took our SWAT team to clear the building? 9 hours. 9 hours to go through Briarwood. Okay? Because has anybody been in the back part of a store in Briarwood into the like alleyways that they have all their stores in? So if you go through a store, that exit that says employee exit or employee entrance only, at Briarwood specifically, and I only know this because I've had to go through them before, it's a tunnel system in there. And you have no idea which direction you're going or where you're going to come out. But it's a big tunnel, like you might get lost in. But that's why it took 9 hours to clear Briarwood. And there's a couple stores in there that they probably had to go through. So thinking about escape routes. You're out for dinner with your family. Where's an escape route if somebody came through the front door that you don't think looks so happy? They messed up their fry order. Where are you going? To the kitchen. Yep. Be careful because you don't have your non-stick shoes on or your non-slip shoes, so you might fall on their greasy floor. But yeah, you can always go through the kitchen, right? Because they get deliveries at the back door in the kitchen. Counter. This one is always everybody's favorite. It's the option if there are no other options. In here, we might have to counter. We talked about it. We could throw Bibles at them. We're going to try and confuse and annoy the attacker, right? We can use noise, movement, distance, distracting them. So if I'm the shooter and I come in and I'm going for Mike, what can you guys do to me? Throw something. So I'm going after Mike. Pam throws something. Now what? I'm going to turn and point towards Pam, right? Now Mike's like, oh my God, Pam just saved my life. I got to do something. So now Mike throws something at me. Now I go this way, right? You're going to confuse the person. That's what we want, right? Because we don't care if they're coming in here to cause harm to us and our families. We want to get to them, but if we have to confuse and harm them, then that's what they deserve. Has anybody heard of swarm? Nobody's heard of swarm? So basically, swarm is we're going to do it this, you guys are going to participate. Swarm is basically where somebody comes in and they're the bad guy and we want to take them down, but more than just me wants to take them down. So we're going to have a couple of people help me. So Mike, come here. Mike's time to shine. All right, now I need 4 nice people. I don't got any nice people. Come on, young. Who else? They don't all have to be guys. Come on. Oh, she wants to get at you, Dad. I need 2 more. Come on. It can be guys. It can be ladies. I don't know any other names, man. Oh, sorry, Mike. You look like you're going to have some competition. All right. So we've got Mike. We're going to call Mike our bad guy, even though I would really like to call her our bad guy. No, we'll call Mike our bad guy. All right. So Mike's going to be our bad guy, and you guys are going to swarm him. So what swarm is, Mike, I'm just going to have you hold out your arms and kind of spread your legs off a little bit. Okay. So you guys are each going to take a limb. Go ahead. You're just going to assume the position of taking that limb. All right. So I want you guys to give like a 70% effort in keeping Mike where he is. Mike, I want you to give 80% effort to get away from these people. All right. Mike, are you trying?
Not yet.
Oh. Mike thinks somebody's going to get hurt. I'm going to back up. All right, Mike, go for it. All right. All right. Good job, guys. All right. So you guys had time. You can sit down. Thank you. Mike, was it terrible trying to get away from them? All right, looks like the young man over here must have had a really good grip on his leg because I don't think he'll be able to go to the gym tomorrow. All right, so that's what swarm is, but would Mike be able to swarm on his own? No, he needs some team players, right? You guys were real hesitant to be a team player with my man back here who volunteered, like, yeah, I'll do it. And then Mike's daughter, what's your name? Jocelyn, volunteered, oh yeah, it's Dad, I get to beat up on him, I get to try something? For sure, I'm totally gonna do that. I would too with my dad. So if you're gonna try and swarm somebody, grab a limb, grab the hand that comes in with a gun or a knife or a bat, you have to be all in and you have to pray that those other people that are gonna grab those other extremities are also all in, okay? That's what swarm is. OODA loop, so we all go through OODA loops all of the time, okay? Our mind is constantly going through an OODA loop. You don't know that that's what it's called until today. So it's where you are observing what's going on, you're orienting yourself with your scenery around you, and you're deciding to do something, and then you might have to act. So if I were to take this Bible and throw it, are you going to try and catch it? I'm not going to throw it. But you want to catch it? Okay. So she just had an OODA loop go on in her head because she said, oh my gosh, this crazy person, you want me to take the Bible back? Is holding this Bible, and it looks like they're going to throw it at me, and I should probably catch it so it doesn't land on my computer, right? Is that what you were thinking? Yeah, perfect. So an OODA loop, we go through that all of the time. Driving. Oh, this light is turning red. I mean, the hint was that it turned yellow, right? I should either press my foot on that gas and speed through it. That's what I do all of the time. My husband yells at me. Or I should find that other pedal and push the brake and get ready to start slowing down, right? So my mind is automatically doing this OODA loop without me even realizing it. Does everybody else have that same thought process that goes through your head? Now you have a name for it. All right? And then obviously, you can fight when you counter, okay? Because what are we doing? We're staying alive until the police arrive. All right, Trevor, are you up there? I'm just going to talk about this video real quick, and then Trevor's going to play one that's similar to this. All right, so this video that we're going to watch, we're not actually going to watch the one that's on the screen because it's temperamental and you have to have like a login for YouTube now to see it. But this man comes in and draws a V on the wall and circles it with spray paint. Anybody seen the movie V for Vendetta? Okay. So you might remember that they did that in the movie. Anytime somebody was going to be killed, the bad guy came in and took his spray paint and drew a V and circled it, V for Vendetta, and somebody died, right? This guy comes in a school board meeting and does that. This is your permission that if anybody comes into the church building and starts vandalizing, you can leave and call the police, right? So this guy comes in and he interrupts the school board meeting. And Trevor, go ahead and play it. We'll watch it. It's about 4 minutes.
Police now know that Clay Duke had planned the attack at the school board building for some time. In his trailer, they found yesterday's date circled on a calendar. Now, a word of caution. Some of the following video may be disturbing.
School Board Policy 7.3.
From the moment Clay Duke spray painted a V on the wall, people in the room sensed something ugly was about to happen. Then the ex-con startled a routine meeting of the Bay District School Board again with a pistol.
Everybody in this room hit the road.
It was a 9mm, but it became a bazooka because that's where we looked at it.
Duke cleared the room of everyone except the male members of the board. But watch Ginger Littleton, the only female board member, snuck back in and behind Duke and swatted at his gun with her purse.
I don't think anything was going through my mind except for the fact that these guys were sitting ducks.
Duke pointed his gun at Littleton's head, but never fired. Today, knowing she cheated death, she made light of it.
Oh yes, this is the purse. Shall I do my Vanna?
We're going to put some bricks in it for her.
I have 3 wonderful daughters, and they said, "Mom, are you just stupid? What were you thinking?"
Duke's major grievance was about his wife, a former teacher fired earlier this year. Superintendent Bill Husfeld tried to talk Duke down. He pleaded with the gunman to let the other board members go.
I'm the one that signed the paper, right? Okay. I don't remember and I don't know who she is. But let them go.
No luck. In hindsight, the V Duke had spray painted earlier stood for Vendetta, the logo of a movie about a mysterious man battling the government. The movie's characters filled Duke's Facebook page. Duke then got more ominous.
I'm going to die today.
Can we talk for a minute? No.
Other board members also pleaded.
I've got a lot with my wife and family. I don't need to die.
But Duke was in no mood to listen.
I've got a feeling that what you want is the cops to come in and kill you because you're mad. Because you said you're going to die anyway. But why? This isn't worth it. This is a problem. Please don't. Please don't. Please.
I'm going to. He was going to do this. If you could have seen that gentleman's eyes, this was going to happen.
Suddenly, it did. Gunshots, point-blank range, targeting Superintendent Husfeld.
One hit my board book and my papers on my desk. I was laying down, and it was probably inches from where I was laying.
Incredibly, no one was hit.
There is nothing short of a miracle that our superintendent is alive and well with us today.
Alive because of Mike Jones, the school system chief of security and a former police officer. He came into the room and, off camera, fired at Duke. Duke fell wounded, the only person hit, and on the floor fired one final round, killing himself, ending the drama.
I'm telling you, Mike saved our lives. There's no doubt in my mind that if he hadn't did what he did when he did, many of us would have not be here today.
Late this afternoon, Mike Jones did show up here at the school board. Inside, he debriefed his bosses about what happened. He says he'll tell his story to the media tomorrow. And as you might imagine, the hometown hero got lots of hugs around here today. We also learned that 10 years ago, Jones was on the Oprah show, honored for his work rebuilding bikes and toys for needy kids. His program is called Salvage Santa. The shooter, Clay Duke's widow, did speak today. She said that the world and the economy got the better of her husband. Katie?
Mark Strassman, an incredible and terrifying story. Mark, thanks very much.
That's all, Trevor. All right, so we'll just go back to this one. Let's talk about it for a minute. Ginger. Who's going to be Ginger and come back in and hit a bad guy with their purse? You are. You're gonna steal somebody's purse, or you got one? All right. So the real question is, if somebody comes in, who's going to be that spokesperson? Are they going to say, I think that you're here because you want the police to come in and kill you? Is that a good thing to say to somebody who's got a gun pointed at you? No, probably not. Or, better yet, how about, please don't do it. I've got plans with my wife. The one guy said it, like, my wife and I have things to do. Like, if you're going to talk to somebody and you're going to try and talk them out of harming you, please have better lines, right? Yeah, something positive. Like, hey, I know where I'm going. Should we say that to them? Hey, go ahead, kill me. I know where I'm going. Probably also not a good thing to say, right? Give them some, okay, you just volunteered to be the first person I take out. Right. But just some things to think about. Obviously, this gentleman drew on the wall. When somebody comes into a building, your house, your workplace, your place of worship, and they start vandalizing, call the police and leave. You don't have to stay in the room, okay? You hear something you don't want to hear, leave, okay? And then if you're going to talk to them, don't say anything that's going to make them even more mad, right? This guy said, you're going to bury me and my wife. Okay, did he already kill his wife? Like, you don't know these things when it's going on, because he just said, you're going to bury me and my wife. So just some things to think about and learn from, things to not say to somebody who's got a gun pointed at you. Is the pastor in this room? No? Okay. I was going to say, don't be the pastor, right? And then everybody's favorite response, and our preferred response is evacuate. You're allowed to leave the building and take people with you. So when I went through this and my kids were in school, I came home from this training and I said, if this happens at your school, you guys need to know that you have my permission to leave. Now I've got a 7th grader at the time and a 9th grader. My 7th grader's like, I can leave school? No, dude, you can't just leave school. In the event that somebody is there to do harm, you can leave school. But your assignment for tomorrow is I need 2 ways out of every classroom that you are in. Okay, no problem. Right? That next night, my high schooler comes in and says, Mom, I have 2 ways out of every classroom except one. My calculus class is in a all concrete room. There is literally 1 way in, 1 way out, no windows. I said, how much longer of this semester do we have? Let's hope we're not in that building or that room again. My middle schooler is like, Mom, you're gonna get a call, you're in trouble. Great. Like, what did I do? He goes, well, you told me to find a way out of every room. So my gym room has 8 exits. And I said, okay. He goes, so I just went out one, and the next door I came to was the kitchen. So I went in the kitchen and looked around, and I found that they were preparing lunch, but I didn't want lunch, so I just kept walking. He's like, and then I ran into the principal in the kitchen. I was like, so why am I in trouble? He was like, because I was in the kitchen and I told him that my mom told me to get 2 ways out of every classroom. And this was the way I found, and I was trying to find another way now out of the kitchen. I was like, so it's my fault? I'm in trouble? He's like, yep, he's going to call you. Now, you guys, I was on a first name basis already with the principal. Like, I had a problem child, so he called me. I'm like, hi, Tracy. He goes, Jessica, why is Gavin wandering around the building looking for a way out? I said, well, did he explain it to you? He's like, yeah, but I need to hear it from you. All right, if there's an active shooter, my kid is leaving your school, and he's taking all of his friends with him. He goes, yeah, that's the part I have a problem with. I said, okay, say you have an active shooter come into your school. My child leaves, but doesn't take his 5 friends. How are you going to tell their mom or dad that their child did not survive this school shooting, but Gavin left and he was fine? And he was like, huh, what is this training all about? Is there any time that I can come get this training for myself? So I was like, absolutely. I would love for you to take that into my Wayne County school and learn what I'm teaching in Washtenaw County, in Wayne County. So the next time that we did our training at the WISD, the intermediate school district here in Washtenaw, which we still do on a regular monthly basis, their school, so he was there. The following month, he brought like 4 more people. And then he was like, I have to reach out to my police agency. So that school district is now all trained. But had my kid not been in the kitchen and get caught by the principal, who knows if things could have changed. So young folks, I'm empowering you. If something like this happens at your school, you now know what to do, right? And you know you have permission to leave and take people with you. Because when you leave, you need to take people with you. You guys all have the same permission. If you're at work, if you're in the mall, if you're anywhere other than here, even here, if something happens, you're allowed to take people with you, okay? Because you don't want there to be targets for somebody to have. They might be people that you love, people that you hate, people you might want to leave here. Take them with you, wherever that is. Just like in a fire, leave all your personal belongings behind. Don't worry about jumping in your car and getting away. I mean, if you have your keys, can you leave? Absolutely. But just some things to think about. If you are at work, be sure to know if there's a way that you guys like identify that somebody's in the building or not. The schools do that with attendance every day. Yes, there's a real reason why they take attendance, so they know that you're there and who they have to be accounted for. Evacuate to a safe rally point. Do you guys have a rally point here? Not yet. Okay. And then obviously this allows you to follow your natural response that you want to do, which is flee. Because remember, we're filling the gap, staying alive until the police arrive. If we are running out of the building and police are coming at us, where should our hands be? Up. Should we have our cell phone in them? Please don't. Because your adrenaline is high, right? Do you think our adrenaline is high? Can accidents happen when everybody's adrenaline is high? Yes. We don't want that accident to happen, so best if our hands are empty when we're running out the door and up, okay? You don't have to answer this, but things to think about. If anybody is in church, and I know you're not supposed to, but what if you have a CPL? Are you concealed pistol carrying? So, obviously, when I go to church, I'm always carrying. Does everybody know that? No. If you are somebody that has a concealed pistol license and you are carrying at church, Make it aware to the police that you are carrying, but keep it concealed. Okay? You don't have to run up to them and say, hey, I have a gun and I can help you if you need me to. But when the scene calms down, they come out, maybe somebody isn't going in, just say, hey, just so you know, I am carrying. Okay, even if that's when you're calling 911. Yeah, I've got him at gunpoint. Okay, dispatch is going to tell you to put your gun away before the police get there. Make sure that you have enough help and support to not have this bad guy turn around and do anything. Say you guys swarm the bad guy and the gun is out of his hand. Should we touch it? No, let's cover it up with a garbage can or something so that nobody can get to it and keep everybody safe. All right, I know there's some microphones around here. Does anybody have any questions? What's your question, young lady? You have a question?
Do we have to stay safe when there's no police around?
Yes, you do have to stay safe when there's not police around. Absolutely. Any questions? We are going to, oh, we got a question.
I mean, what about handicapped people?
Okay, so Pam asked, so the question was, what about handicapped people? What is she supposed to do? Is that what you want to know? Yes. How are you getting out? You'll be surprised when your adrenaline is high what you can do. You'll be surprised what you can do. You'll just jump out of that wheelchair. You're not in a wheelchair right now. Right?
Because she's in a wheelchair and she cannot even stand up. And so that's why I asked that question.
So you have a member who's in a wheelchair that can't stand up, so she doesn't come to church.
Even at home, when she comes here, it's such a chore.
Mm-hmm.
The way that she stands on is with A-Ride that has that lift
Ramp.
In the van.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she gets here, and then after church many times, she's still waiting for that ride because you know how A-Ride is. That's why I asked the question.
A-Ride takes their time. So obviously here, she would only have really one way out, right? Because this door here has the ramp. So yes, it would be a little bit challenging for them. But I think that there's enough buff, strong, muscular men that I think that they would probably help her out. I mean, I can't speak for them, but I'm just saying that these two are already talking about it. Mike's already assigning a personal bodyguard for her. So I think that, you know, your fellow parishioners would help her out if she decided to come to church and something happened. Obviously, this isn't any type of training that is meant to scare you guys into staying away from church. It's giving you tools to think about what you could do in the event that anything happened, no matter where you're at. Right? I know that she's not saying out of church just because something bad could happen, right? So she's staying out of church because A-Ride's a mess to try and get a ride. I would stay out of Michigan in the winter months. Personally, I have 9 more winters. Yes, I'm counting. Yeah.
The reason I'm asking these questions is because I just finished a training with the county. The community mental health that we have here in Washington County, you know, the governor has allocated more money for Michigan for mental health. If you have a person, not just in churches, but other organizations that you do these seminars with, do you notify them ahead of time before you're coming? For an example, how many of the churches in the community know that this program is open to Washington County?
So about 4 years ago, we used to offer it on a monthly basis to anybody, and it would be out there. So I think anybody who reaches out, they basically all get forwarded to me or Sergeant Rush, anybody who inquires. So anybody can have the training. They're just a couple of different rules that we have to go by in the sheriff's office. Does that answer the question? Yes. You got a question back there?
So my question is, if you were in this room and there was something to go down, how would you barricade or do anything in terms of in this
I don't want to answer that question. I told you this is a terrible room. So let me answer that after we do barricade. Okay? Fair? All right.
I have a question regarding the swarm.
Okay.
And I don't know if I came in when you were just doing it, but the swarm, the shooter has a gun, and then the other people grab the different limbs. Who's grabbing the limb with a gun in the hand? How is that working?
Oh, that's just going to happen like as it happens.
Okay.
It might end up being you, and hopefully you're going to break his arm because you're going to have all the power.
Yeah, so my question is, the swarm then, I didn't know, I don't know if I missed something, but was the swarm people coming in behind to sneak up on him, or versus coming in the front?
It could be all of.
Okay.
There wasn't really a direction. So that example was just Mike coming up here and then people volunteering. And then I said, each person take a limb.
I see.
So,
but we know that the shooter's not going to stand there while okay.
No, yeah,
okay.
they're not going to stand there while you organize a plan on what you're going to do.
All right.
Yeah. So it's just going to be very organic and happen however it happens.
Well, she's a black belt, so she's a black belt.
I told her
she's
she's going to break his arm.
So my question is, in the Virginia Tech example that you showed, it seems like these people would just sit and duck. Is there a better way to evacuate? If you're just in a room, I think that's why so many people got killed, because you have all these people in a room, just shoot. Is there a better way that people can hide or evacuate?
So there is. So is there a better way to hide? So that example in Sandy Hook, they were in a building that wasn't even being used for, or the building wasn't in play in this situation. How many of us went to school in the, I don't know, from 2010 down? So like early 60s to 2010. Any of us go to school? We all probably should have. That's what they taught us to do. Was it a very good idea then? No, they did what they were trained to do. So in Sandy Hook, we remember Sandy Hook, there's a kindergarten teacher. She took all of the contents of her cabinets out of her class, out of the cabinets, and stuffed little people in those cabinets and told them, stay here and be quiet. Did it work? Yeah, ultimately, all her little kids were hidden. She was the only victim in that classroom. So it's going to be different. Every situation is going to be different, and we can't always have an answer.
I want to go back to the swarm. So that is our last resort, right? You're barricaded in a room, you can't get out, and because some children, and mine when he was a kid, would think, I'm going to attack the person. And mine was, no, your first thing, if you can get out, get out.
Correct.
So when you're talking about swarm, that's only if there's no other alternative?
Correct. Yep, and you have a couple of people that are going to be all in with you, you know. And I can't say, oh, I'm going to go grab his arm, and then get halfway there and change my mind. All right.
So along those lines, same lines, what are some things that we should do that you know we are not doing currently just to prepare in the event of someone coming in to harm us? What are some things that our church should do, not counting the sanctuary, but other things that we should put in place right now so that we're prepared to the extent that we can be?
Can we say that for after the scenarios?
Sure.
Okay. I don't want to act like I'm like leaving it, but we'll get to it, and I don't want to take up everybody's time. So I did do the walkthrough with you, and I suggested the numbers on the doors. Right. So in this scenario, you're just going to be a sitting duck. You're going to do exactly nothing. What those people did in whatchamacallit, Virginia Tech. Remember, don't hurt my person. Okay. Okay. So that scenario is over. You didn't expect it to start, did you? So there was a couple of people that tried to do something, right? You had the door open for her, Mike.
We realized it was part of the presentation.
So you said you realized it was part of the presentation? Yeah. So we were just sitting ducks. There was a couple of people that got up and did something. How many of you more wanted to do something and were like, what am I supposed to do? She just told me to sit here. But you had your phone unlocked. Look, all three of them are gone. He was going to find out what was going on. Every man for themselves. You see where you rank. Yeah, that's what happened. The biggest guys were like, I'm out of here. I'm not waiting. Yeah.
When she passed me and she's still shooting, that's the time to do that form with the legs.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, swarm. We got a question in the back.
I'm just observing from the back here.
Yeah.
So if someone's coming in and that situation's going, whoever's behind me, we can just go behind her and tackle her down.
You guys could have been your swarm.
Yeah, from whoever's behind her. So we could be thinking like that, you know what I'm saying?
Did we have time to leave? You guys had all kinds of time, and I hadn't even told you what the first scenario was yet. She got started a little early, okay? She got started a little early. So the second scenario is going to be barricade. We already talked about how would I barricade the room. I told you the room is terrible. So hopefully you're thinking about what you would do to barricade, because hopefully this next scenario might make you feel a little bit better when it starts. Okay? Again, we're not going to throw anything at her. We don't want her to not come back and help me. We're just prepping for the next scenario. You're already leaving? I don't think it's a good idea that you leave. Question. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm sitting here. Oh, wait. Barricading the doors or shutting the doors?
She's putting chairs. Now, if you're sitting up in some place and you see this, at least she tried to barricade the doors, and you're observing what's going on.
She's barricading you guys in here?
Yes, she is.
What the heck? She just wants those doors to be out of play. Right? Is that what you're doing? You're taking those doors out of play. They don't have to barricade them and you're not going to come in them. Okay. Well, you can't get out that door if you just barricaded it. Oh. Oh, gotcha. All right, so we are going to try and barricade the doors, right? If she barricaded that one and that one, we can't use them. They're out of play. She's not going to come in those two doors. We're not going to go out those two doors. Yep, this one's going to be barricade. Okay, so you guys are going to try and barricade the doors. Whenever you're ready. She said she's ready. You what? They're going to barricade the doors. They're going to figure it out. Yeah, so when a disturbance happens out there, we're going to barricade the doors. Oh, you're going to trip on cords. Your cords. Your cords. Scenario's over. Scenario's over. All right. Scenario is over.
I am shocked because Dan came too late.
You guys can leave your barricade the way they are for now. All right. Did you guys realize how terrible this room is to barricade? Yeah. Great design up here, right? So, how would I barricade this door, this room? You asked me that question. It's a terrible room to barricade. Yes, we're done with this scenario. Constance, stay in this room so I can talk to these people. They're going to be paranoid anytime you walk out of the room. No. Yeah, you can go, but you have to leave that here. All right. She's going to leave her weapon here so that we can talk about this. You can just leave it open. You guys scared her. She needs to use the little girl's room. She's going to leave the weapon here. She did lock herself in. You saw that, right? Okay. So she came in and said they did a terrible job barricading that door that I barricaded from the outside. I told them it was out of play. She goes, I came right back in it. Cheater. She's a cheater. All right, so with barricade, I saw you guys doing a couple of things. Everybody went in a different direction, which was good. But multiple people came and tried to barricade over here, right? What? This door was great. But you have like 18 million doors in this room. Huh? I know, those two doors weren't in play. That one and this one, right? You didn't feel good? But did you die? No, you didn't die. You're still here, dude. Yeah. So during these scenarios, I have all kinds of people who say, Deputy Wyan, I totally died. No, you didn't. You're still talking to me. Like, you didn't die. This is a scenario. We are practicing because we want you to have tools. How would I barricade this room? I have absolutely no idea. Yeah, you could do it. You could do it, He-Man. Yes.
Thank you.
So I would definitely recommend that there's like some type of cord or rope that we set over there so we can actually tie that door to that door so nobody can get in.
Tie it to the piano because the piano moves. They moved it.
But that's why I was saying if we had some type of cord that we tied to each door, that way they connect, we can't open it.
Yeah, or even something that's already, so it would obviously be pre-made after today to the exact length that it's not going to change, right? Or it's something that loops on. An eye hook. Yeah, maybe. So cord is what a lot of people do. Computer cords. I know. Somebody was carrying some microphone stand. I'm like, hold on, there's cords. There's cords. There's cords. I didn't want cords to be unplugged. But yeah, if you had a rope of some sort that either, so let me see if I'm visualizing your idea. You're saying a rope from this door to this door. So it would obviously have to be measured to fit. And then you also want it to be able to be, well, you want it to fit right. I'm trying to think. So if you have one there and one there, I mean, look, that door's still barricaded. How are you going to make it fit in with your decor? Yeah. Right. I mean, you could always hide it in the back too. Pam's thinking decor, it doesn't match. Yeah. So he's saying use a microphone cord. If you really have to use a microphone cord, we're not making one. But would it, the question is, what material do you need that would actually stay? You know, could you make something, could you take your belt off and wrap it around the handle and bring it back, or a lady's purse and somebody hold it from here? Could I hold a rope here? I'm not in the doorway. I mean, who knows? Yeah, I have no idea what you have here. So Pam asked, what do we need to do right now to be able to secure these doors? Now these two, no, I'm just saying these two, this door here in the back. Well, if they do lock up and down, then you have to get in there and do it, right? So you have your door stops on here. Do they actually touch here? Yeah, they don't work. Sometimes if your door stopped to work, would they be better? I mean, isn't it an option to put a handle on this side so you can at least come up with something where you have like the handles that are on the other side of the door, on the inside of the door as well. So in the event that you needed to barricade that you could. Yeah, but right now we can't put a 2x4 in between.
I've seen places, since we're having these incidents,
Mm-hmm.
they actually have doors with bolts, but they're not ugly. That you can get them made where it looks like it's designed in it.
Yeah.
Each door have its own bolt, and it's really steel, but it's overlapped with maybe something that looks like wood. Every door we can just change the doors, and then someone who's over on those particular sides, if you hear a strange noise, just bolt the doors. That'll hold it until you can get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because they
But,
have those.
so it's bolted and now I need to leave.
Yeah.
Is it easy to unbolt to leave?
Just like, you know the gym doors?
Mhm.
It's kind of on that thing. You push it open, you push it shut. Very easy for someone, maybe in the back, someone on that side, bolt it, give you a chance to kind of at least get out. And then we can do the same thing with those doors up here, just to give you a chance.
Yeah. What's your name? Roberta. Thank you very much. You are the first member of the door changing committee.
And do I get paid?
No. Roberta's your first committee member of changing your doors.
I just wanted to say really fast.
Yeah.
I just noticed during that last drill we were doing that there is a lock on some of these doors, so we could actually lock ourselves in here. I didn't know there was a lock there.
So we're going to lock ourselves in here. That's perfect. I'm pretty sure that's probably a fire code of some sort. Right, but you need so you're saying that they need a key to open them? Right. So basically you're saying that door is locked, so if we went outside to try it, we would be locked out. So that would be perfect, right? Is it just that one door?
I think just that one door.
Just that one door. So yeah, could you change the door handles? You could, as long as your jams line up and it actually locks. Yeah. Could you put a bolt lock on it? Probably, right?
There's these locks that they have at hotels for doors that, like that, where it comes down and literally you can bring it off the wall and it holds the door in place. It's still.
So there's also a system called Night Lock that you can invest in to lock the doors. It's a piece of steel. But is a piece of steel gonna hold a wood door? No. Not well enough.
Okay, I was just thinking, because we also got the little kiddies room back here.
Mm-hmm. Did you save them?
That's what I'm trying to say. You gotta think of
Somebody could go in that room and easily just wipe everybody out there.
Yeah. So we have to remember the classroom's going.
This blank room with the tent right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So just more things to think about, or are you saying that somebody could shoot through that glass window?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, you got all kinds of mess in here. We're all going to meet our maker. So yeah, you guys have a lot to think about, right? So the first scenario that we had, where it was just sitting in here, you heard what it sounded like now, something happening in the sanctuary. Second one, you got to do something. Do you feel a little bit better with that? Being able to do something?
A little bit.
All right, we're going to take this last question, and then we're going to start our third scenario.
It's not really a question. It's
Okay.
just, I live in New York, so we have NYPD officers in our church, and they're just, they just look regular, and we use it as like undercover, right? And they're armed, and they're just different places in the church, in the back of the church. We've never had an incident. A few incidents that we have had, they've always apprehended the person, and the police took them, and it was done. So I would say just have people inside the church that you don't know who is who, and they're just sitting in certain areas, especially in the front, and make sure you have your security cameras, and you should be fine. We can't be afraid. We have to be prepared, but have people in place. We do that. We do that. We have officers that are armed, and they're sitting there. They don't have their uniform on. They're members of our church. They're sitting there, and we're even thinking about having security, paid security, because this is real, and it's happening, and you have to be prepared.
Yep, thank you. So that goes right back to me saying, when I'm in church, I'm a police officer, I'm always carrying. If you guys have people in your church congregation that are police officers, you can ask them, whoever's in charge, I don't know who's in charge, would you be willing to carry every time you came into church? They probably already are. Like at my church, I'm on the welcome team. I'm always armed. Am I armed like this? No, you don't know I'm armed, right? But nobody knows who's who. But you want to know what? I know who in my church is also carrying, not because I ask people, but because I pay attention, right? I know that my husband is carrying because he's got his CPL, and we're not going anywhere without being armed. Normally, I am not armed. I'm terrible at being armed. I am. I would rather not have to carry it when I'm not working, but I do sometimes when I'm in church. But I also know other couples who have CPLs and are very strong in I'm going to protect whoever I can. So I'm not saying that it's a bad idea to be carrying concealed if you do have a concealed, but if something happens, you need to also let the police know. If something happens, it's going to be evident on who has it. But like you said, they're...
We have a relationship with our precinct, 109 precinct.
Yeah.
We have a real good relationship with them. They come, they know our church, we have a relationship, and they talk. So they know when things happen, who they can contact, and that helps. Know your precinct. Who's your precinct? What's your precinct in your church neighborhood? You should know that, even where you live.
Yeah. Know your police, right? No, we don't all like donuts. Our third, what'd you say? Yeah, don't bribe them with donuts. I don't like donuts. You can bribe whoever you want. So our third scenario is going to be evacuate. What are you trying to do? Make things so that they can get out easier?
I just want them to be safe.
Okay. She wants you guys to be safe. Our third scenario is evacuate. Huh? When the scenario starts, obviously you're going to try and get out. Okay? You don't have to leave the building. Get to a door, an exterior door, and that's how we will know that you're out. Okay? Makes sense to everybody? All right. If it's safe to do so, you're leaving. You don't have to take your purse and stuff with you. You look like you're ready to go. I'm still talking. I'm still up here talking.
You good in here. You gotta worry.
Whenever you're ready, girl.
Go ahead, sit down.
Oh, look, they locked you in. I'm pretty sure you can get out this. Oh, look, that one's wide open.
It's in the church room.
Have everything, did you? Took off what?
Yeah.
What is your iPhone? You can record.
What is it? What is it?
That alerts our congregation there's an active threat. Yeah. It's because it was it'll catch. It's a magnet that activates after a minute.
Did we get everybody back? Missing, oh, you were up here. Just making sure we found everybody that evacuated. Oh, we got one more coming. All right, who are my friends that locked my bad guy in the sanctuary? Whoever went out this door, locked her in. Right? You locked her in. Yep. But that was the only door. That one they thought about it, but I think they just ended up leaving. No, come on over here, use the microphone.
You like that pretty fireplace?
Yo, where we leaving?
You know, the Bible says that we perish for lack of what? Knowledge. All right, so let's get it together here. We want to. So what I'm just saying is, take this real serious.
They're apps for the firefighters, and they have it on the screen of the screen of the.
You guys are so glad you ate.
It makes you feel warm. You just see the fire.
And some silly people at work will go out to do this because you hear this crackling sound.
Oh, he needs a plan for Sister Josephine because he's not getting shot for her. That's what I just heard him say. What? Planning for a bigger man. Wow. Oh, is that him? He left his wife like 3 times.
Right.
Somebody should have stopped her and said, she doesn't have a badge. Right. So I think that maybe what she meant to say is she came after church. She came after church. Nobody stopped her and said, mm-hmm.
You said you were here with Pam. I knew it was happening, but I did. I came up to you. What did you say? I said, you want to go downstairs and eat?
She invited you for food. All right, so that we can wrap this up. So, like she's saying, acknowledge people when they come into church. We had a service that was only going to be about a half hour, and at like the 22-minute mark, we had 2 men walk into our church. I already told you I'm armed. My husband's armed. we don't sit with our back to the door. We actually sit at the door because we want to be able to see what's going on. So we can see the door, and we can also see where our children are. But these two gentlemen came in, and they were all dressed up nice. Like, we wear regular clothes, jeans, and we come as we are type of church. And they walked in, and my husband and I both looked at each other, and he's like, this is their first time here, and they're late. We need to talk to them. Okay. So we talked to him. Oh, we're here for your pastor. Oh, well, today was a video message, so we don't have a pastor in the building. Well, who's in charge of your service? Okay, so we have a downriver pastor. Like, we can get him. Okay, we want to talk to him in a room by himself. Like, why? You know, so we asked questions. Ultimately, we did end up going and getting the pastor, but we didn't let him talk to him in a room by himself. Like 2 on 1, no. So if you see somebody who looks suspicious, you could have asked her.
Okay, excuse me. What I want to say is, now we have in the past have been a church considered as we're not kind and we don't smile enough and we don't this and that. Now, if we come off onto people negatively or some kind of way, like with her, I mean, if we would have said, oh, you're welcome here or whatever, sign your name up if they, like before, we had to sign our names in. So how are we supposed to approach someone without making them feel exactly uncomfortable or like mean, come off meanly?
So,
you know, I mean, we have people that be at the door and respond to people.
Greeters.
But
so when she came in, you came in before or after I did? Before me. So was church still going on? Okay. Maybe she didn't stay.
Well, I observed her from the minute I saw her. I kept my eyes on her. Oh, good. It's an old thing I learned at my job, to observe, be able to identify eyes, face, and everything. And I kept watching her. And I kept turning, looking to see where she was at all times, trying to figure out exactly what was she up to, because I'd never seen her.
right.
She worked in a prison
That's the
for
same
30
thing.
years.
Yeah.
Mrs. Taylor did the same thing. She wanted to know who she was. And I was like, I don't know who she is.
Yeah.
And
So when somebody comes into your church, obviously way after service starts or after service is over, you can still approach somebody in a kind way. Oh, I'm sorry, you missed church. Like, you know, come back next week. How can I help you? This is what's going on. I don't think that you would have came off mean. I mean, obviously, if you would have approached her, you'd be like, oh, can I help you with something? She probably said that she was looking for me, and you would have been, I don't know who that is, right? Had you been the first person to see her. Now, if she came in and she said, oh, yeah, I'm looking for Jessica, but she was talking to Pam, Pam would have been like, oh, yeah, I haven't seen Jessica yet, right? So just some things to think about. Not everybody who comes through your door is thinking that they want to harm you. Okay, we have to keep that in our mind, because this training's not something where I want everybody to be scared to come to church. I want you to have a toolbox and some tools and things that you can use, right? We don't want to instill fear in anybody while we're at church. It's just things that we have to think about, and could it happen here? It could, because how many church shootings have there been?
I have a question. From your experience, I heard you talking earlier about the walkie-talkie system. Would that be appropriate for us? Because we have people up there that can look out at the parking lot and maybe like different parts of the building. They could have their eyes, you know, all around the building and communicate with each other. Have you seen that worked in this area or any places, other places you've been of worship?
Yeah, so I've belonged to a lot of different churches that had security teams. And some of them you knew that they were a security team because they all wore the same thing. And they had the walkie-talkies. Others, you didn't know they were part of a security team. And if you paid attention, you could see that they have, you know, an earpiece in their ear listening to things and a microphone on their chest. Do they work in those types of churches? Yes, they were huge churches. Is that something that you need here? I don't know. You have them or you had them? Mm-hmm. Batteries get lost, they don't get charged, people don't turn them in. Okay, so once upon a time we had them, and now we don't.
Should we have bulletproof windows? Our doors are currently locked, so you have to be, given access, even on the Sabbath when we worship and during church service. So should we have bulletproof windows? Should we have a code word that alerts our congregation if there's a potential threat, so that we all know what that code word is, and let's say it changes monthly?
Let's say I'm visiting. I haven't been to church in a couple of months. I don't know what the code word is. No. Use plain English. When something's going on, be real, right? Yeah. Or you say active threat, because unless they're shooting, you don't know that they're an active shooter. They're a threat. Active threat. Bulletproof glass, the only places that I know of in Washtenaw County that have bulletproof anything are the Jewish centers. They have bulletproof and bomb-proof windows and glass. I personally think that they're probably expensive. And how am I going to break it to get out if a bomb or a bullet is not going to come in? So, how long has the church been here?
Over 50 years.
Over 50 years. How many times have you had to replace the doors or windows due to a bullet coming through them?
Never.
There's your answer.
You mentioned earlier numbering the doors.
Yes.
So what does that entail? And I mean, how do we go about doing that? I understand why. And if we have to notify responders, we want to tell them what door they need to come to, but how do we physically do that? I mean, we don't want to press on and it flies off in the wind, but we don't want it so glaring that it smacks us in the face.
Double side this with a number, right? Then you have it, put it in the same spot in all of the doors so that when police are driving by, if they're coming to a call and you said door number 2, we're coming up, okay, we see this one says 1, 2 is going to be the next one around the building. And I would probably go the same way, 1, 2, 3, and then your basement door 4. But just a piece of paper. On the glass, you can see through it.
Okay.
The door downstairs isn't glass, right?
No.
So that one you would need on both sides. And I would say you could buy, for that one, for the outside, you could buy like a number 4 at Home Depot for like a mailbox and put it on there, high or low. So,
should we have like a panic button installed that goes directly to the police or something that can be activated?
Sure. Do you have an alarm system on the building? Okay.
We do have a security system, but
Is
and
it
so
monitored?
if anyone wants to access, so if someone comes into the building or tries to come into the building, or they actually gain entrance to the building, the alarm goes off. I won't indicate how long it is before. The security system will initially call the church. If there's no response or the wrong response, then they notify
Dispatch.
the police.
Okay, so do you have an alarm box panel that like the alarm is set on?
It's at the entrances.
So there should just be 2 buttons that are a panic. I mean, you could always find out how much they want to charge you to put a panic button up front. that's an option, but is it a cost that you have to incur? I wouldn't say yes. But it's something you can find out how much it would be, you know, for whoever the alarm company is. I'm sure you're paying a monitoring fee anyway, to add a button.
Okay.
Yep. Anything else? It's kept you guys a long time.
So is there like any type of text alert service that we can sign up for? That way, if we had like members that do come in and there is something that goes on and people want to come to the church, they can send a mass text out and just be like, there's a alert, shooting or something's going on. Church isn't open.
I think you have that.
It's called One Call.
It's One Call. Are you enrolled? Oh, he needs to know about One Call. Do you belong here? If this is your first week, you can't be on it. Just teasing. Anybody else?
I'm sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but I just have one more thing to ask. This is it.
Okay.
We have a group of people that harass our church all the time, and they'll be like on our steps when we come in. They'll be like outside on the property, and they just harass us with signs. You Seventh-day Adventists are going to hell, blah, blah, blah. That's a threat. I mean, how do we handle that? Usually people just sit there and argue with them all day. But I just want to bring that up. How would you suggest we handle them? And they're always here, always threatening us. Always.
I've been here twice. I haven't seen anybody. No, I'm kidding. So I would say if you feel like there's somebody outside that is threatening to anybody in here, call 911. They'll answer the phone, 911, what's your emergency? If you're not physically fighting with somebody, they may have to put you on hold. But have Ypsilanti City Police Department come down and make contact with them. Worst case scenario, they can trespass them from your building. Then if somebody is trespassed, that trespass is good for a year. If they come back on the property and you recognize them, you can call and say, they've been here before, you have already trespassed them, it's time for them to be arrested. So, trespass.
Just as a comment to that, because I was one of the officials that would contact the police when they would be here. But the police would come, and they basically would just move them further away or tell them to go across the street or whatever, and then they'll always come back. And it's just that cat and mouse game that we can, go back and forth, and because we've called the police on them numerous times, but.
Have you asked for them to be trespassed, specifically?
Well, we'll know that next time.
Try that.
All right.
But yes, can they go across the street? Sure. Because it's a public roadway, public walkway, they're allowed to do that. But I would specifically say trespass. That's your magic word. I would like them trespassed and moved along. Yep.
And you can come join our church and just look to you.
What about Mike? I just wanted to say, to answer to the question that she asked, the city has addressed that, and they just suggest that you just ignore them. Don't stop to talk to them, because they stand down here on the corner of end of our street every day. They're down there. But sometimes when we come out of church, they're out there. They just say to ignore them.
Yeah, I mean, if they're on the property, whoever's got the grounds ask for them to trespass.
It's on the sidewalk. They're on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But it's a public sidewalk, and so there's nothing really the policeman can do. But the city has addressed it.
The city has addressed it?
Yes, we've addressed it. The Monday meeting that we have, they've addressed it with that.
Yeah, if they come onto your property, then you want the trespass. Bye, bad guy. Thank you, ma'am.
We're friendly to the bad guy, right?
What was that? Oh, well, she's gone now. Constance. So Constance is one of our victim services advocates that we have for the sheriff's office. So they help me out to be bad guys and girls when I have these trainings. But anything else? I don't want to keep you any longer. It's now 3:30, so it's been the 2 hours. Absolutely.
Round of applause for our presenter, Jessica Ryan. Jessica, thank you on behalf of our church. We greatly appreciate all that you've communicated and shared with us. This is long overdue. We have some work to do, family, right? A lot of work to do, so thank you for being the catalyst that serves us, that gets us moving. And anything that we can, any suggestions that you would make going forward for us, we're open and receptive to doing that.
Okay.
Special thanks to the Sheriff's Office for you and you coming out, and just thanks all around. Yeah,
Absolutely.
really appreciate it.
One last question, is there any like way to see those PowerPoints or anything outside of just us coming to you, or can we like see them online? You guys wanna-
I don't think that we have them online. No. Go rewatch the podcast. No. You can rewatch the podcast, right? Because, right, you guys taped it?
Yeah,
So
it's
they can
streamed.
watch the,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. So it'll be in our archives. Okay. I think
right.
that will conclude our service for this afternoon. Thank everyone for coming. Let's stand and conclude with prayer, and then we can dismiss. Okay? We have a little chatter going on. Okay, we're going to ask our first elder if he'll dismiss us with prayer.
All right. Please bow your heads. Father in heaven, we once again thank you so much for the privilege of coming together and getting this training, Lord. It's unfortunate that we have to have training for such a time as now, but safety is paramount. And we just pray, Lord, that you be with us and just continue to be with each one that's here and help us to, keep these little tips in mind. But we always ask for your protection as well. Be with us as we go our separate ways, highways and byways. And thank you for, again, all your blessings. Amen. And you may be dismissed.